Welcome everybody to All Out Poker's tournament recap. We're only going to show you the best hands played on this final table. Here we are, hand number one on the final table, and it looks like it's Glenn's action, who has pocket sevens.
9,000?
Looks like he's going to raise it up to 9,000. Blinds are 1,500, 3,000 with a 3,000 big blind ante. Look at this. Craig in the small blind picks up pocket tens. He's got his full set of KK Poker merch. He's an avid player on that site. Wow, look at this. Colby in the big blind has got pocket threes. Curious to know if he's going to come and see a flop here. Try to nail that set. He is a short stack at the table. He's got under 10 big blinds now. Decides to let it go. Manprit, who limped in early position, he folds the ace-3. It's like we're heads up. It's a great flop for Craig. It's actually not a bad flop for Glenn either, and he shoves his remaining stack into the middle. It's got 25K. Craig, he's a pretty big stack at the table, 204K. He's not going anywhere. He makes the call. Glenn's tournament life is at risk. He's going to need pretty much running straight or a 7. The heart does not help him. Both players end up hitting a flush. Craig's 10 of hearts has Glenn beat. So take a look at our chip stacks here. Craig, 256K. He's the biggest stack at the table. John, Colby, and Bernie are all sitting around the 10 big blind mark. We're still not out of this tournament, though. Here we are now. New hand. We're on hand number 4. Bernie, one of the short stacks at the table. Actions to him. Blinds are still 1,500, 3,000 with a 3,000 big blind ante. Sitting at that 10 big blind mark. Jack 7 suited. Looks like he's gathering the chips together, and he puts it all in. Looks like he's going to try to steal those blinds, and what a terrible time to shove. Look at Craig here, wakes up with pocket aces. It's really Hollywooding it here. Taking some time. Looks like he's grabbing a couple chips. Looks like he's going to just flat call here. Maybe try to entice some of the bigger stacks to get involved. You do not want to get involved at all, though. Looks like everybody folds. We're just heads up. Craig shows the pocket aces. Bernie
You're live.
knows he's live, but running into the worst possible hand for him. He's going to need some help. He does not get it. Craig ends up adding to his chip stack. 306K now for Craig. Bernie ends up getting eliminated in 9th place. Only 4 hands into this final table. 2 players already eliminated. The short stacks really struggling to try to get ahead in this tournament. Moving on to the next hand, though. We are on hand number 11. Actions to Skender. He's got Queen 7 off. 73K. Blinds are now 2,000, 4,000 with a 4,000 big blind ante. Looks like Skender's reader was having a bit of an issue. Looks like that got settled quite quickly. It's like Peter now. It's going to fire out 12K. The dealer catch up with some of the graphics here. He's got ace king. Colby decides now's the time. He shoves all in. He's got ace queen offsuit. Oh, Peter's got him crushed. There's no way Peter's going to be getting away from this one.
Sorry, it's me.
Colby is going to need Lady Luck on his side. One of the short stacks at the table. All in situation. He's looking for a queen. Looks like he has hearts now because he has the queen of hearts. Not going to help him, though. He gets no help on the turn or river. Colby is our next player eliminated in 8th place. Peter moves himself up to 2nd place, 237K in chips. Moving on to the very next hand. We're on hand number 12. Peter, with his newfound chips, sitting here with ace-8, decides to limp in. Under the gun. Actions to Katie now. Firing out a bet. Looks like 9K. Action gets folded around to the biggest stack at the table. Craig, sitting there with Jack 10 off. Grabs some chips. He makes the call. Looks like he's going to have position as well. Get folded around back to Peter. Peter makes the call for another 5,000. Look at this. Katie has hit mid-pair. She also has the nut backdoor spade draw. Although Craig has hit open-ended. This pot could get juicy. Katie firing out 11,000 here. I like the size of that bet. Around a third of the pot. Craig calls. Peter, who had bottom pair, he decides to let it go. 3 is no help to either player, although it increases Katie's equity. You can see at the top here, Craig has got 12 outs. He's got a queen, jack, 10. He's got his pairs here. He's got his open-ended. He's got quite a few outs. So he's going to play it a little bit slow, and there it is. Craig has hit his open-ended straight. Also, the nuts on the board. So Katie might be thinking that her 9 is good here. Fires out a 20K bet. Probably doesn't think Craig has a king. Thinking Craig might actually throw 20K out there with like a pair of 8s or even a pair of 7s. Little does Katie know that Craig has the nuts. I think Katie knows at this point that she doesn't have the best hand. Wondering maybe if Craig could be doing this with something like a Jack 9. She makes the correct decision though. She lays it down. Craig raking in more chips to add to his stack. He won 134K there. Craig is certainly sitting pretty at this final table, sitting at 371K. He's got almost 40% of the chips at the table. Moving on to the next hand. Hand number 18. Blinds are now 2.5K and 5K. Actions to Skender. He's got King 7 suited. He's just going to flat call, as does Peter with 8-7 suited. Craig on the big blind makes it 16K. John shoves all in with 6-3 suited. Manprit's now all in. He's got ace-king off. Wow. We got 5 players in this pot. 189K in the middle. With Manprit's all in. It's kind of a weird spot for Craig, really.
That's our contribution.
Manprit is like medium stack compared to the rest of the people at the table. It's actually quite a pricey call. He's got John crushed in the diamonds, though. Manprit's got the king of diamonds. Craig giving it some thought. I think he's starting to realize that he's got to be beat here. He folds. Shows the ace-10 suited. John telling Manprit he's got a really, really bad hand. Gotta love John's sense of humor. He's got live cards, though. Needs a 6 or a 3. Oh, that 7 gives him some straight outs. Doesn't get there, though. Ace on the river. Looks like Manprit adds some money to his stack.
John, I'll have to get out to one of your shows.
Says 189K for Manprit. He's 3rd place in chips. Katie sitting at a whopping 4 big blinds. Moving on to the next hand, though. Hand number 22. Blinds are still 2.5K and 5K. But there's a 2.5K big blind ante because we are now 6-handed. So that big blind ante gets cut in half. This gets folded around to Peter on the button, who has king, queen suited. Bumps it up to 15K. Katie shoves her remaining stack in the middle. 21.5K total. It's a great spot for Katie to get it in. Ace-9 suited. With how short she is here for a stack, it's got to put it in. It's like Dan sitting here with Queen-9 suited. Dan wondering if that can actually open up the action back to Peter to reshove over top of him if he makes the call. Which he can. So it looks like Dan decides to let it go. A good fold by Dan. He was crushed by both players. Peter having crushed with the king and Katie having him crushed with the 9.
That hand always gets me in trouble.
Katie, 61% to double up. There's the ace. Peter's going to need a 10 here if he's going. Oh, there's a heart. No help to Peter, though. Katie has the 2 hearts as well. Katie doubles up. Back up to 10 big blinds. Right back into this tournament. Although she'll be looking for more double ups in the future. Moving on, though, we are on hand number 36. Blinds are now 3,000, 6,000 with a 3,000 big blind ante. Looks like it's getting folded around to Katie. Katie lets it go. Dan on the button. Ace-7 off. He's got 101K behind. He's going to try to go after those blinds. Makes it 17K. Let's fold it around to Manit. He's got the Queen-Jack off. Nothing like the sound of the blinds going up to remind you that the time's a-ticking. Looks like someone's happy the blinds are going up.
I was like, wait.
That's a weird way to change the blind level.
Yeah. Such a coincidence. I love it.
After some thought here, it looks like Manfred decided to make the call in the big blind. We're going to see a flop. 40K in the middle. Oh, there's Dan's ace. There's 2 aces. Wow, Dan has just flopped the nuts. Manfred is drawing dead here. He has no chance of winning this pot. He's grabbing some chips. Fires out 6K. Curious to know what Dan's going to do here. Just flat calls. There's Manfred's jack. I'd actually think his jack is good here. Fires out another 6K. I mean, is there really any sense for Dan to raise here? Manfred's just building a nice little pot for Dan. Fires out another 6,000. Dan's clearly going to go for a raise here, but how much? Fires out 40K. Manfred giving some thought to his decision here. Throws it away. Makes the correct decision. Dan rakes in a nice size pot. He's going to need those chips if he wants to take on one of the bigger stacks later. See, that ends up putting Dan in 4th place. He's got 142K now. Both Katie and Skender are sitting around just under 10 big blinds. But moving into the next hand, we are on hand number 43. Blinds are now 4,000, 8,000 with a 4,000 big blind ante. The price of poker has gone up. Action is to Craig here on the button with the Queen-2 offsuit. He folds. It's like a blind versus blind action. Manit with King-2 off in the small blind. Looks like he's just going to flat call. Skender with Jack-10 suited decides to check behind. Skender is the short stacked here. There's already 20K in the pot, and he only has 41K behind. Oh my god, and look at that. Skender has flopped the flush. What a great situation for him to get his money in. Get back into this tournament. Manprit isn't dead, though. He does have the king of clubs. He'll be drawing to a better flush. Skender certainly wouldn't want to be seeing a fourth club come down. Skender makes it 11K. Manprit shoves all in. Skender already has his money in. Fantastic spot for him. 79% to win this pot. Looks like Manprit's only got 4 outs. Looks like some of the clubs were already folded. Oh, and there's one of the clubs that Manprit needed. That's going to eliminate Skender from the tournament. Skender ends up getting 6th place. Manprit bumps up to 2nd place in chips. 209K now in chips. See if any of the other short stacks at the table can pull off the same thing. Got hand number 50. Blinds are now 5,000, 10,000 with a 5,000 big blind ante. Here we are with the biggest stack at the table, Craig, on the cutoff. Fires out 25K. Really putting the pressure. It's folded around to Katie in the big blind. It's got Queen 4 suited. It's got 10 big blinds. There's 103K behind. Decides to make the call. Craig's got her crushed with the queen there, but she does have the diamonds. Oh, there's a queen on the flop. This could get ugly. Katie checks it over to Craig. Fires out 20K. See at the top here, Katie's only running to 4 outs. It's a pretty wet board, though. Clubs down on the board. Katie shoves all in. Craig, for some reason, doesn't like that. Must think Katie's not bluffing here. He's definitely giving it some thought.
Yes.
On top of that?
No, it's 87.5 total. So that's not ridiculous.
Call.
Craig, he makes the call.
Me too.
Katie is in rough shape here. Needs a 4. Doesn't get it, but that 5 helps. Now a 5 or an ace. Does not get that either. Katie ends up becoming our next elimination at this tournament. She gets 5th place. I believe we are on the money bubble now. Paid top 3. Moving into the next hand. Hand number 63. Craig ends up waking up with ace-9 offsuit. A great hand, 4-handed. Andy's the big stack. Looks like he's opting for a bet here.
29 is the bet.
Makes it 29K. Actions to Manprit on the button. Looks like he's going to make the call here with ace-queen offsuit. Action is now up to the blinds. Both of them fold. Manprit has position in this hand. Over Craig. Oh, both players end up hitting top pair. Manprit's got the gut shot with it as well. Craig checks. Manprit shoves all in, and Craig instant calls. Shows the ace-9, but it's not going to be no good here. Craig's going to need a 9 or a 10 to pair the board. Does not get it. Looks like Manprit doubles up. A 326K pot. Manprit's in great shape now. Pretty close to Craig for chip count. Poor Dan sitting there at 4 big blinds.
Dealer buttons
We're going to move right into the next hand. Hand number 64. Actions to Manprit. He's going to do anything with those newfound chips. He does not. He throws it away. Here's Dan shoving all in. 4 big blinds against the big stack at the table. With Jack-9 offsuit. Craig snap calls. He's got ace-jack. Poor Dan is crushed here. Looks like Craig hits his ace on the flop. Dan is running to by a 2%. That 9 now gives him a little bit of outs, but it's no good. Craig ends up hitting a 4-card flush. Dan ends up hitting the bubble on this final table. We only paid 3-handed for this tournament. Craig adds to his enormous chip stack. He's been a chip leader for this entire final table. Manprit's not far behind, but Peter's sitting at 200K, still 16 big blinds. Moving into hand number 72, blinds are 8,000, 16,000 with an 8,000 big blind ante. Craig bumps it up to 38K. Manprit folds the pocket sixes. Actions to Peter now. The short stack at the table. Wakes up with ace-king. He shoves all in. Actions to Craig now, who instant calls. Craig hits a miracle flop. Top pair with nut flush draw. Hits that flush on the turn. Ends up eliminating Peter in third place. Peter takes home $300 for that third place finish. Both Manprit and Craig were pretty even in stacks. They ended up deciding to split first and second. They ended up in a situation here, all in. Manprit versus Craig. 10-8 suited versus Queen 10 offsuit. Neither player ends up hitting anything, so Manprit's Queen 10 ends up winning the tournament. Both players ended up taking home $600. And that is it. I apologize for the last few hands. We had a disc malfunction. Some of these problems happen. Appreciate everybody watching up to this point. I'm your host and commentator, Dave Frazier. Good night.